I have no idea how to share this. Read Senate report on January 6th, U.S. Oh, okay, that's something else. Hey, everybody, this is Ryan Singer. In case you're listening to this later, I hope you don't hear that poor dog outside barking. It seems distressed. I should probably oh, yeah, there we are, live now. Okay, let's tweet this link out and put it on Facebook. I got Alex Mistretta. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, except there's a delay on my headphones.
Okay.
All right.
How about that?
Yeah, that headphones is silent, so I got nothing on there.
Okay, yeah, that's
okay.
Good.
All right.
So yeah, because I brought the browser up for Twitch.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
This is the first time I've done any of these like multi-window things. So we are going to be, from what we're hearing, the UFO report should have been coming out anywhere. Our buddy Jimmy Church over at Fade to Black, what did he tweet or something that was supposed to come out 2 hours ago, maybe?
Yeah, he tweeted 3 hours ago, say it was going to hit Congress an hour later, so it should be in their hands by right now.
Okay, yeah. So, I don't. Sorry, I'm. People were like, "What the hell is going on?" It's like, well, I'm learning how to run multi-camera live streaming things all at once. So as we do this, I thought erroneously, what a dummy, that I was going to have the weekend to do tech runs and figure all this out. But as we all know, the UFO report is dropping today. So let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I can. I can just put this on Facebook and Twitter, but I didn't know how to do it in advance. There's big implications potentially coming from the report, as we all know, because it could change the way we all experience our reality to a large degree.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some articles. I've got a bunch of articles up. We've got C-SPAN on the screen, I believe. I thought I had the chat going too, the Twitch chat up on the screen, but for some reason it's disappeared. I'll figure that out and we'll get that back up. But lots of articles saying don't get your hopes up. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I'm a little less optimistic than you are from that standpoint, but it's not, to me, it's not so much about what's going to be revealed or not revealed today, because what's not revealed is just as important as what is revealed, is what we do with that information going forward. And if it changes the game from the standpoint that all of a sudden the world, the media, academia, everybody looks at this phenomenon a whole lot different than they did yesterday, then it's a big win for us, and then it's up to us to kind of, get the ball rolling and keep it going. So I'm optimistic for the future from that standpoint in terms of what's going to happen today. I kind of agree that they're going to leave it open a little bit. There's going to be obviously a push for more money for defense because everything's always about money in the end, and power. So I'm expecting they're going to play up the threat angle a little bit, but they can't come out and say it's all Russia or China because obviously it's not. People aren't that stupid. They're not going to buy that. So
people aren't that stupid? What do you mean?
Well, I mean,
no, I mean, like, it is, I really hope that, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But I really, really hope that that is not the move here, like Russia, China.
Yeah. I think they're going to get mentioned because it evokes, again, that threat, factor and it plays it upon people's paranoia, and that's how you get money and, attention to whatever budget you want for the Defense Department or whatever. But I think what I'm looking forward to is see how much that's going to be left, that they're going to keep open, like, there's something else going on,
Yeah.
That's the part that's going to be interesting to me, and see how people respond to that part. Because I've seen kind of two extreme, right? People are like, yeah, we won, the girl or the dude.
On UFO Twitter, it was like Jim Perry and I were texting last night. Luckily, Jim Perry texted me, that gave me the heads up because I was immersed in work on other things, and he's like, UFO Twitter's going crazy. They're calling it Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then UFO Twitter was flooded with women taking selfies, flooding UFO Twitter with just selfies to like kind of piss off the UFO Twitter bros.
Yeah.
Or something. It was really. I don't understand, and I don't think any of us do, if we're honest, like the way internet culture reacts and what catches fire and why things start to happen. And,
Right. Yeah.
You know, and why people start jumping onto things and then it becomes a huge thing, right? But it is interesting that it was a very exciting like night, right?
Yeah.
But so I guess we'll see. Surgery Cult is saying it's all bullshit. The cabinet minister, the whole business. So you cooked up a story and threw the bunch of us into a meat grinder. I don't exactly know what that means, but
Well, that's the other side of what we were just saying, right? The other
Yeah.
extreme response where it's all
Mhm.
bullshit, which is nonsense as well, you know. But
he's quoting Predator the movie,
oh,
or they are quoting Predator the movie.
well, I should have known that.
Sorry.
I've seen Predator like 12 times.
Oh shit. Now there's some articles, and let me go to his Twitter and I'll bring it
Yeah.
up if I can, figure out how to. I can do that probably pretty quick. But let's go to Eric Mack, who's been writing for CNET. Retweets Julian E. Barnes at Julian Barnes. We are expecting the UAP UFO report today, but there won't be final answers. As interesting as what is in the report will be the government's plans to examine the incidents that remain unexplained. This is from the New York Times. Intelligence officials are set to release declassified UFO report. Now, a lot of people are saying, and this is interesting, it sent me down a rabbit hole last night, and I ended up purchasing the book, Extraterrestrials, by Avi Loeb, who's a Harvard professor, right?
Yeah.
And now, how do I say that the name of that, the thing? Was it Ase Mua Mua?
You know, I can't say it.
Asua Mua Mua?
I've avoided it publicly saying the word because I
Yeah.
have a hard time with it. But
Yeah, and he apparently has doubled down, tripled down, in fact, saying
Yes.
that was a UFO craft, that was artificial intelligence, or not extraterrestrial intelligence sent that, and I believe however you pronounce Asua Mua Mua, in Hawaiian means I believe it means first, if I remember correctly, and because it was the first time like an interstellar object like that entered our
right.
What was it? Was it our solar system or our galaxy, whatever it was, and just kind of like cruised on by, and this is the professor at Harvard who's been in charge of the astronomy department. He's had the longest tenure as being the chair of the astronomy department at Harvard than anyone ever has. And he wrote the book called Extraterrestrials, and so it'll be here, I think, Saturday. So I'm going to have to read that as quickly as I can. But what is, he's convinced, right? And so now people were like, well, is there a connection between what's this report, UAPs, and, Asua Mua Mua? And if I'm saying that incorrectly, I apologize in advance, but, or not in advance, I guess.
Yeah, we're live, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, we are live. I'm seeing it
Okay,
here.
cool.
And I, to people who are like seasoned Twitch people, like this is me trying to like figure it all out. Crash course last night. So I got a graphic up on the screen, and I figured out how to share screen from a website from C-SPAN. So I'm proud of myself for that. I am going to bring up. I'm going to bring up something else here. I'm going to get rid of the C-SPAN for now. And I'm gonna share a different screen. I want to share, if I can. Should I bring? I don't want to bring up UFO Twitter just on here like that. That seems. Oh, why is my eBay open? I gotta stop buying baseball cards. Okay, I'm gonna bring up the article that we're talking about here. and so we can look at it, so people can see what I'm talking about. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom.
You talk about the Loeb article on.
Or yeah, about Avi, Professor Loeb.
Yeah, I called him the ufologist of the year. To be honest, I think it's somebody in that position coming forward. I think it's that important.
Oh, really?
I haven't read the book yet. Obviously, it's on my list, but yeah, I really think that's the most important thing to come out this year. Actually.
Yeah, right. I apologize again if you hear that poor puppy next door. I apologize. We don't know what's going on with the puppy and the neighbors. The way they're handling the dog situation is.
Should we be concerned or?
Well, we are
like,
starting to become a little bit concerned and wondering what do we have to do? What do we have to do? Okay. I'm trying to. Why can't I get this? Okay, I'm not just going to keep talking this whole time about why can't I figure this out? Okay, so let's put this in. So now you should be seeing the, for those of you who are watching at home, I'm not going to be able to scroll, it doesn't look like, at least at this point. I need to do an image, I need to do a capture share or something. But basically this is the article that references what we're talking about. Have aliens found us? And first known interstellar object, Oumuamua, not Oumuamua. Oumuamua makes scientists wonder. And you can go to that link there if you can see it in the browser. I don't even think it shows up in the browser. Nonetheless, it's on. You can Google Avi Loeb and see what we're talking about. Astronomer Robert Warwick discovered Oumuamua, the first known interstellar object, which literally means first in Hawaiian. It swung in the definitions of an asteroid and a comet. Despite its proximity to the sun, the object did not show signs of a coma, a gaseous tail as a result of heating caused by the sun, a defining feature of comets. However, the object was accelerating on its own, like comets. Scientists estimate that objects like Oumuamua pass our solar system each year, but we are not able to see them because they do not go so close to space. They do not. Isn't everything out there space?
Yeah, to ours. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, but anyway, people are trying to figure out is there a connection between the two. Agenda, thank you for jumping in. We're trying to figure out what's going on today. A lot of people are very skeptical, and they think that the government is not going to be giving any, or the Pentagon, I should say, is not going to be giving any real information, because there is a classification phase, if we can call it that, where they are allowed, Congress is allowed to keep out certain information of the report that goes public. But the report will be going public to everyone, and it's supposed to be going today. We're trying to keep on top of that as it comes in. We're trying to do that live right here today. Most people are skeptical. And I gotta be honest with you, we can talk about this a little bit as we wait for more information to come in. There seems to be such bias against extraterrestrials specifically in the media, right? And we've seen this play out time and time again throughout the years,
right.
Of people being belittled, people being kooks, people being crazy, all this stuff, if they believe in extraterrestrials, let alone UFOs, or UAPs as they're calling them now. And even though we've all known UAPs and UFOs are a very real thing. Those of us who have been, fascinated and interested in the paranormal. So is this bias against someone who believes, or even this bias against just the existence of extraterrestrials, is it so deep now in the media that it taints almost everything that's even coming out right now about this report?
Well, I think the stand on extraterrestrials is the same stance that was on UFOs or UAPs a year or 2 years ago. right, where it's been ridiculed through the media, except so they've just managed to separate UFOs from extraterrestrial to make it more digestible, and kind of get rid of the laugh factor, right? Like every news report for years was like the X-Files theme at the end, over UFOs, right? So now at least we got rid of that, but to get to this point, they had to get rid of the extraterrestrial angle, right? Which doesn't really do us a whole lot of good in the long run, because ultimately that's still... Yeah, right, so UFOs are unidentified flying object, right? And as I know really well from having investigated this stuff for decades, the majority of the stuff you investigate is going to turn out to be something very human. But so it doesn't mean everything's extraterrestrial, but once you get rid of the extraterrestrial factor, it becomes a pointless topic, because that's not what we're here for, right? That's the big story, is the fact that the biggest story actually in history is the fact that extraterrestrials are here and have been, doing whatever they've been doing on Earth for, maybe even, hundreds, thousands of years or whatever. So
yeah, and real quick, just a little background for people who might not be familiar when it comes to these, the 20 years that you've got.
Yeah.
Chasing the saucer, right? And whoever's flying it. Let's give just a little background on what you mean by that.
Well, I was a director of investigations from UFO in Los Angeles for about 13 years, and during that time I investigated UFOs. Maybe I'll say at least 300 cases, in the Los Angeles area, but also privately, kind of around the world. I investigated some cases in Europe and so forth, and I focused a lot of my research also on places like Siberia, China, India border, places that don't get a whole lot of attention, South America. So I've been involved in this field for, like I said, 20 years. I've been fortunate enough to have some great cases. I've seen some extraordinary films. I've even managed to see a film of a little, for lack of a better word, a little gray guy walking around someone's bedroom. We think that we found a landing spot one time in Pine Mountain, not far from here. So I've had a lot of experience in this field, and well, which brings me to today, where obviously when you've gone all through that parkour, like I have, like you have, like a lot of investigators, anything shy of aliens at this point is meaningless for us, right? Because that's the end goal, the fact that something that extraordinary is here, and that's what we're waiting for. So, to kind of tie this into your question prior, in terms of separating UFO from the alien angle, it's insulting in some ways, to what we've been doing, and it's not really what we're here for. Everybody knows UFOs and UAPs are real. That's pretty obvious by now, right? But contrary to what the UFO community wants you to believe, we have never proven that aliens are real. We haven't. I'm 100% sure they are, but we've done absolutely nothing to prove that, if we're going to be really honest about it, Yeah. So celebrating the report that validates UFOs and UAPs, but not aliens, to me isn't a win.
But is it not a first step?
It's
not a good, well, not even a first step, because, the acknowledgement of the videos that were leaked by who we now know was Lou Elizondo, at the very least, Elizondo is claiming responsibility for leaking the videos. The famous Tic Tac videos, etc. And I have no reason to believe that he's not the person who leaked them, considering he was, in charge of ATEP for years. So that was like the first public acknowledgement. Right. That was kind of like almost like passing by on the street.
Yeah.
Being like, oh yeah, that was real. We don't know what that is. But now this seems to be the first truly formalized, at least governmental form of acknowledgement. And while that is a very small step for people who have been, into this for a long time and demanding answers and disclosure, for the mainstream, observer, someone who doesn't really care about this stuff and think about it, this might be, something that really opens the floodgate for them potentially.
Right.
But yeah, aliens obviously are the big reveal.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Don't get me wrong. This is great. It's fantastic because it opens up a lot of different avenues, and I think getting this stuff out to the general audience, people that have no interest in UFOs, it's just as important as us getting validation or progressing whatever we've been doing. I think because this phenomenon belongs to everybody, right? It belongs to the world. And again, I'm not saying it's not a great first steps, because it is. I just don't want us to become passive aggressive like we've been, and been like, sitting on our couch waiting for the information to come to us and not take advantage of this moment to keep pushing. And I want us to want it all the time, every day, all day.
You want full tilt. You want full tilt constantly.
That's what we should be pushing for. I don't believe we're owed everything. I don't believe we should get everything, but I believe that we should go and try to get everything. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
For sure, 100%. And by the way, you can follow Alex on Instagram and Facebook as well. What's the Instagram handle? It's International Man of Mystery.
A mystery.
11 or
10, I think.
10.
I can check right now. I always forget.
There's 9 other international men of mystery.
I mean, is there really that many guys like me? Come on.
But you're like International Man of Mystery 10.
Yeah, what is it?
Is a funny.
Yeah, I think it's 10, but I don't even know how to look it up though.
Yeah, so I mean, I think. I could bring C-SPAN up again on the screen, or at least the website, and we could see if anything live is happening. But at this time, let me see. Well, one of the interesting things, too, about this is the narrative that's being pushed forward as far as, like, surrounding. Actually, this is actually a pretty big news day. Because I never thought I'd be saying that kind of stuff onto a live streaming show. This is a big news day, but the Derek Chauvin sentencing hearing for the murder of George Floyd, which he was found guilty of that murder, is happening. So simultaneously right now. So we've got the sentencing, for the murder that really changed the course of. I would say the 2020 election, and it really pushed forward the civil rights movement into where getting closer and closer to where it needs to be, at least on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So the UFO report in that regard is, talk about having the perfect example of micro and macro happening simultaneously. Like, this is affecting so many people's lives immediately right now. This is the somewhat of a closure on that to a certain degree, although many people have said before there's no real justice there. But and then the macro, the UFO side, which is like we're talking about future implications mostly here when it comes to what we're discussing today. Let me bring up something else I thought was pretty interesting that I was going through last night. But like I was saying before, like these most of these writers, they don't think anything's happening today.
Right.
They disparage the idea that extraterrestrials are even associated with UAPs and UFOs, which blows my mind. It's like looking at a pile of like a pile of feces on the floor in a living room and being like, I don't think that really has anything to do with the smell in here.
Or nothing left it there.
Yeah,
don't have, right?
Or nothing left it there. Yeah, that just kind of no. That was a man-made thing that was put there to distract you from blah 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 blah. So, it's. Well, I want to bring this up. Just this title, and you can go to thecollective.evolution.com, and you can search for the French Space Agency releases information about UFOs. 600 cases over 64 years.
Yeah.
Which is very newsworthy because I think this UFO report that we are receiving today is fewer than 300, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not even sure, actually. Is that what it is?
And yeah, it's fewer than 300. And the French were like, oh, we're going big.
Yeah.
We're going big. I mean, here's something I love about France. And, well, let's see if I can just do this. I'm going to try to do display capture, and we'll see if I can't just...
Yeah, a little background on the French thing. I shared it to Ryan yesterday because I speak French, and I spent a lot of time in France. I was actually born there, but I grew up here. So I've been doing a lot of work with UFOs, in Europe and in France, that sort of thing. So I found that super interesting. Not to mention that I interviewed a 747 pilot for Air France years ago. And
what?
Yeah, did I tell you that story?
No, this sounds like a great story.
Yeah. Well, so I went to France, and this guy invited me to his house. We went upstairs. He had this he had this whole setup with a table, a map on the table, and he had like pictures of UFOs and the whole thing. And he's like, so he was an Air France 747 pilot, and he told me that he's seen UFOs up close while he was piloting, his plane, his 747, and he said that there's a complete underground of pilots that have seen UFOs in the air while they were working. And he's like, and this is the map of, he's like, we've been in contact with one another with this underground system, sort of. And he had pins in the map everywhere where they had seen an object in the sky while they were, on transatlantic flights and all that. He's like, none of us are going to come forward because no one wants to lose their job. I want to be ridiculed. And no one wants to fly with a pilot, that's seeing stuff in the air. And I still remember the map. This was before cell phones. This was before I got my first cell phone. This was a long time ago. And so I didn't take a picture of the map. But there was pins everywhere over the ocean. I mean, the number of sightings, their pilots had was tremendous, And it always made me wonder how much, how many of these things military pilots are seeing now, that how many reports actually exist. If commercial flight are seeing it, obviously they're, French Navy, whatever, or Italian, Russian, everybody's are seeing these things all over the place. A lot more often than we've been led to believe,
Yeah, and, I think hopefully the consequences or one of the things that's going to occur because of all of this is the residual effects are people are going to be more confident in saying that they saw this. More people will come forward,
yep.
Etc. And I brought up the article here so you can see. I'm scrolling now, full screen here. French Space Agency releases information about UFOs, 600 cases over 64 years. Talk about scooping the story. This came out 2 days ago before it said talk about scooping the U.S. I love it in some degree. 600 UFO cases over 64 years. The interesting thing about CNES that investigates the unidentified aerial phenomena makes its findings public. Now, obviously, there's the conspiratorial view, and I'm not 100% convinced that everything they find goes public. Right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And that's just, I think, a normal feeling we have. There's so much just, everything's just so blurry around this when it comes to, disclosure, and mixed in together just the total erosion of trust of government that has happened in the West in the last few years.
Yeah.
When you have a leader of, one of the most prominent countries, on the daily, sprinkling in distrustful statements about the media, everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like those of us in this world ever were just blindly trusting the government anyway.
Right, yeah.
Right? But at the same time, something I try to remember is, at the end of the day, the government are people. It's our neighbors who are working government jobs.
Right, yeah.
Right? But anyway, so 1952 and 54, the peak years. This is interesting, I think. Because a lot of people are saying that, some of the UAP and UFO sightings, especially even these videos that came out, they could be an insect, they improperly judge distance and all this other kind of stuff, right? Looking for any excuse with no evidence to back up this theory, right? People always say, prove it. But when people are trying to be dismissive of UFOs, they never have to prove it.
Right.
The burden of proof, as they say. And they'll be like, it could be an insect. It's like, well, show me how an insect could have been that, right? And made that pilot have that reaction. Show me that. You think a pilot is chasing, and one of the most sophisticated aircrafts that we have at high speeds, chasing an insect that happened to get on the radar and talking about it, right? I mean, and not to mention they're talking about China and Russia also having there's reports of them working on advanced technology that can make these movements.
Even more than that, and Russia has been reports, and I'm getting this from personal experience where I was talking to some. This was again back in the early 2000s, late 90s, whatever. Some ex-KGB people saying that they had films in Russia of not only films of pilots filming UFOs, but stuff that they had filmed from from space. So
it's and when people want to be dismissive of the origins, because I think that's what is at the crux of all this, is like the origin story of these UAPs, UFOs. That's really the most fascinating part.
Yeah.
And Marco Rubio, it turns out, I think is at least on the surface, like just obsessed with like national security. America can't defend itself from these crafts, right? From what I've been able to get to, because I was like, why is Rubio the guy, right? Like,
of all people.
Of all people. So, but then it's like I never would have pegged Harry Reid years ago, funneling all that money to a secret operation, right? I guess just lying to people to have millions and millions and millions of taxpayer dollars get put into a secret program. I guess you just kind of lie to do that. I don't know how all that works, but it's frustrating when let me see if I can get rid of this. Okay. And we'll just kind of. It's frustrating to me when you can't like have just some common sense involved.
Right.
Right, in all of this. And the idea too that like this advanced technology that we're just unaware of other people having or even ourselves having was happening this whole time. It's like, what do you think we were doing in 1947?
Right, yeah.
You thought we had you're speculating that airplanes could do all this that we built in 1947. So what have we been doing for 70 plus years with that technology?
Right, yeah.
How have we been using it to like gain an advantage or whatever else? It's like, where's the proof that we had this already 70 plus years ago? And what have we been doing with it? They offer none of those things. It just seems like we really get to see how imaginative and how creative some of these people are when they don't want to believe.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's a possibility. Yeah. We're just saying it's a possibility that they're extraterrestrial, right?
Well, fear is a powerful, powerful weapon. So a lot of people, it's fear of this huge paradigm shift in their lives, and fear of the unknown. It's that simple. It's that simple on some level where a lot of people just don't want to admit because they don't want to change their worldview. It's both being lazy and being fearful at the same time, I think, and it's a normal psychological condition. We all engage in that, on some level in our lives, right?
Yeah.
But so this is just now on a bigger scale, where. So, but also going back to what you're saying about the government, I think we also have to take into account that there's two governments here, right? The people in charge of disclosure today, they're leaking out these reports, giving these reports to Congress, might not be the same people that are really in the know ultimately, and how much discourse is there between the two? How much connection is there between the two? That's a huge, huge question for me, because do the people that ultimately really know, people that, the deep, dark, people in the dark working on alien technology or whatever the hell's going on, right? Are they even in contact with these guys? They're pushing for disclosure or releasing this info. Is there a connection? Are they pushing for it? Or they're like, oh, we're just backing off. We have actually nothing to do with this? Because that creates a lot of interesting dynamics behind the scenes,
What's that guy's life like? Or that gal's life like? What's their life like? They go to work. They're working on alien technology. They're trying to, reverse engineer alien technology. And then they have to go to the grocery store and look for avocados that are ripe. I mean, how do you just go back to, or how do you do that for your job and then just kind of be a normal person?
You can, I think. But actually, that's such a great point, because I think that concept, people can't reconcile doing something that's like movie-like you're in an MIB, and then being a normal person, right? And because people psychologically can't reconcile those two modalities, one cannot exist. And they want to throw that first one away because it doesn't make sense that someone that lives an MIB type lifestyle has kids. They're going to their soccer games on the weekends. It doesn't compute, I think, because we've been led to believe that there's reality and everything else is a separate thing, right?
Okay, I mean, I can see why that would be hard to reconcile.
And I think
trying to find that reconciliation between, the MIB lifestyle and the soccer mom.
But I think you
Yeah.
go back to what you're saying about the reports and all this skepticism by the writers. I think a lot of it stems from that concept, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I'm gonna snoop around here on the internet real quick and see if there's any updates whatsoever about the report coming out. I'm gonna go to this guy's Twitter. He's a reporter. I'm gonna go to it's at Eric C. Mack, and it looks like there's no real new update yet. So originally this was supposed to come out on Tuesday, and so Tuesday was supposed to be the original day of the release of this report, and then kind of late last night we got word that it's coming out today, and so it's been kind of a scramble to try to figure out the tech side of all this for me, but nonetheless I plan on trying to just keep staying live until we've got information. Alex Mistretta is here with me. Alex Mistretta also helps run UPARS.
UPARS, correct, yeah.
UPARS is UFO Paranormal Research Society of Los Angeles, formerly the MUFON LA chapter, which broke free because they wanted to, if I'm not mistaken, the LA chapter of MUFON wanted to expand their horizons a little bit into more other paranormal things other than just UFOs as well, but there was also probably politics and things like that going on behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, MUFON wasn't very receptive to a lot of ideas for one, and they also went through a really bad period where essentially MUFON just lost its mind for a while, and some people became abusive in that whole deal, and we just kind of broke away, like, I don't want to get into details, it's not really the time and place, and everybody knows that I have no problem speaking my mind, it's what really happened, but just eventually, it was things weren't progressing in any meaningful direction, MUFON just became a place where you just file a UFO report and it goes away. And so we wanted to do more.
There was just really no follow up, or real action. Anyway, and it can be difficult. I mean, this takes time, effort, a lot of energy, and money.
Yeah, which the latter is a big problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So to be able to properly fund UFO research as private citizens or as independent researchers, one needs almost like a billionaire to come in and set up a team, which Bigelow did at one point.
Right.
Tell us about Star Team a little bit.
Well, in the kind of dying days of my MUFON involvement, but before that, MUFON started a thing called Star Team, which was funded by Robert Bigelow, which is the gentleman that actually owned the Skywalker Ranch until a couple of years ago, 3 years ago.
Skywalker Ranch?
Yeah, until he sold it, right? So Bigelow's always been super interested in UFOs, and in fact, he was the man that went on 60 Minutes last year. I don't know if anybody's seen the show, and he was on 60 Minutes, and he's the one that said that aliens are here on Earth. And apparently no one really paid attention to that segment, which was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the most fascinating things about that is, and I can try to search here in a second and bring up some links to that, or so we can see what you're talking about specifically. He kind of, I don't know if he completely abandoned his private space company or not, Bigelow Aerospace.
I don't think so, no.
But he does now have, his Institute on Studying Consciousness, which, if you're into the UFO UAP world, you're probably familiar with Dr. Stephen Greer, his documentaries / movies that have come out. Unacknowledged, I believe was the first one, and I can't remember the second one. The title of it, I can't believe I can't.
The more recent one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I saw the first one. It was enough for me.
No, the second one. I enjoyed both of them actually, and that camp of people is all about consciousness is the advanced technology that these crafts are running off of. It's all about consciousness. And then I finished this book. It's called The Death of Forever by Daryl Rainey, who was a scientist who wrote this in 1991. He's no longer with us, but he talks about consciousness being the key to immortality, and in the sense that our consciousness is tied to our ego, which is our anchor to experience linear time. Because if time is going to pass, it has to pass something. So what is that thing that it's passing? It's passing that signpost in the ground that is our ego, is our identity, that separates us from everything else. Right? Now we become an individual who is experiencing everything, and now time is passing for us, right? Leads to our death.
Right.
So you have ego death. Boom, you no longer are thinking in linear time. You are immortal because death doesn't exist, maybe. It's. But anyway, so you get into the idea that Bigelow is now putting all these resources into studying consciousness. You've got Greer talking about consciousness is the secret ingredient in the advanced technology of UAPs and UFOs and travel through space and time. And it all starts to come back. It all starts to come back down to consciousness for me, so it is very, very interesting.
Well,
and
I mean,
Bigelow, who is at the forefront of all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff, is on TV saying aliens are here already, as if he knows for a fact that they are.
Well, ultimately, if you break it down, when you talk about consciousness and its ability to interact with harsh reality, right, with objective reality, it's something that quantum physics has been saying all along, except on a micro level, right? How it can influence particles and they behave differently whether we observe them or not. I think the whole consciousness in terms of ufology and technology is just a macro aspect of that concept, So it makes sense. It's just been expanded upon now that it's interacting with the real world, and we're getting to the point where we're able to recognize that, and so it makes sense, from that standpoint. I think it's easily abused though, because you have to be real careful. You can't just go, well, everything goes then, because no, there's still certain rules to the universe, the way things function. There's still, sure, there's a lot of subjective reality that overlaps with objective reality, but there's still objective reality, So you have to be real careful. We're talking about consciousness because then so many people that have no business talking about UFOs and consciousness kind of use that to their advantage, and it becomes kind of a new age and all bullshit, and everything goes, and we're all good and gods, and I'm special, kind of cult-like modality. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a huge important aspect of ufology.
Well, I want to bring up this video. I mean, there's funny stuff. I mean, it's like genius billionaire, playboy, alien believer, Robert Bigelow. It's like they're calling him a playboy.
But remember, it's 60 Minutes. He didn't go on and go, I believe they're walking around. He's like, I know. I have experience with with that. So, which was it was so exciting for me when Star Team first got started. I thought we'd finally made it. I honestly thought for about a week that this was going to lead to real ufology for the rest of eternity. But unfortunately.
And bear with me while I do this. Oh, wait, what did I just do there? To window mail. Crop top. I'm just trying to crop this so people don't see like my disgusting desktop. You know what? I'll just figure it out later. But I'll just like make this go full screen here. So this is a YouTube video. Obviously, I'm bringing up. I mean, it will be obvious in a second. Of Bigelow. I'm hoping that the audio comes through. Maybe somebody in the chat can let me know if it does, and we're gonna rock and roll with this. So let me know in the chat if anybody's in there. If we hear the audio on this. Oh wait, what's happening here? This seems to be. Well, there seems to be some kind of weird inception event happening. Okay, let's get back. Okay, here we are. Now let's see. Can we stop here for a second? I mean, did you see like this? This is from 2018. News reporters on 60 Minutes are still asking this question. Aren't you worried people are going to think you're crazy? Like, that to me is crazy. That you're still asking that question. Like, it's just fucking blows my mind.
Well, hopefully that ends now.
Right? Okay, let's get back. I mean, it's just like, are you, and following up, like, are you sure? Oh, really? You don't care?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you care? Shouldn't you care?
I mean, how many times do people ask you that question?
All the time.
Right? So.
Although I think most people, I really actually haven't had that question asked to me, or that statement, or like kind of thing in a minute.
Oh,
just because.
you're lucky.
I think maybe in some in a lot of situations, it, like the fact that I'm like a weirdo precedes me. Maybe I think
Yeah, I mean,
that's like the term. That
and you have that hair.
like he's a weirdo. He's crazy. Oh, this is shit you're into, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? So okay, let's see what he says. He doesn't. Bigelow doesn't care. Oh shit. Thank you, Jim. Jim Perry. He's like, hey, the sound isn't coming through at all.
Oh. No, thanks, Jim.
How did I am not hearing your mic or video sound over stream. Hey Jim, text me right now. Oh, whoa, what's happening? Another Inception event is happening. If you can hear me right now, Jim, text me. I'm not sure why. Let's see. I hear your voice from computer mic. Oh, I wonder if it's the computer mic or my microphone. My actual microphone that I'm plugged. Can you hear Alex, Jim?
Yeah, am I coming through?
Let's get rid of this. I wonder if you could hear the Bigelow video. Oh, he hears Alex well. I hear you from his mic. My mic not fucking working. This is so. I'm trying to figure all this out. He cannot hear the Bigelow, so I've been showing a video that no one could hear.
The pictures were cool, though, right?
So sorry about all this. Let's see if I can't figure out how to do an audio input capture from the browser.
This is why we need a lot of money in the UFO business.
Yeah, let's just get rid of it. You know, I need somebody else to come in here and do this for me. Basically is the long and short of it. Okay, so yeah, the long and short of it is Bigelow believes aliens are here. You can go find the video on YouTube. I was hoping that would really work because it was also going to give me a chance to maybe use the bathroom.
But you know, the bottom line too is this video should have been a bombshell on 60 Minutes, which is one of the most well-respected. Granted, today maybe people are like 55 or 60 and over usually watch 60 Minutes. Nobody else does anymore, but still, it's one of the most respected news program. The fact that somebody of his stature goes on that big of a program and state UFOs are real, it should have been a bombshell. I mean, you know, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was like a little. No one even talked about it, which I remember it blew my mind. Because going back to how we're going to feel once this report, whenever it comes out, and how it's going to change people's perception. I honestly thought when I was watching this, I was like, I remember thinking, oh, tomorrow is going to be awesome. It's going to change a lot of people's minds, and nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. I do have to, for lack of a better term, take a quick break here because I'm going to hit the gentleman's room. But so I don't know if you just want to sit here and talk, or I could just we can just do a short little break, and maybe I'll bring this up for everybody, and we're going to be back, and we're going to be hopefully finding more and more information out here in a second, or any minute now, regarding the release of this report, and then maybe we're going to try to find out if we can't get Jim Perry to how about we get Jim Perry to zoom on in and get on the program. So we'll work on that here in a second. I'm going to go take care of this business, and then we'll be back. Okay, I believe we're back. Check. So I'll just do this real quick to see. This will help me figure out. We're back.
Do I really need these or?
You probably don't need the headphones.
I'm sweating on them.
You probably can't. You probably can't even. Were you hearing anything through them?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, but
then if you want to use them, you should. Yeah. But only when we're doing that. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh C-SPAN and see what's live right now. Still the Derek Chauvin sentencing for the murder of George Floyd. Now, I'm going to try to get our buddy Jim Perry on Zoom. See if I can figure that out. So let's see if we can figure out how to do that. I'm going to give him a call over here on Zoom. I'll send him a link, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, so what we're saying is, what's this? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I think that guy just emailed and didn't realize that we'd already spoken. It's like this weird time loop we're in right now. We're waiting for information about the UFO report that's supposed to be delivered by, intelligence agency officials, the Pentagon, to Congress. So, this is interesting. Okay, it's got let's change the camera here. And we're going to bring this into the thing. So as we're waiting for that, we're going to get Jim Perry on the line and, give us some action. Let's do video input capture. Oh, boom, there he is. There he is. What's up, Jim? Doing okay. Let me get you into the stream here. Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. And I got to figure out how to pin your video too. And you might want to check your display name. And then on Zoom, on the Zoom window. Because I think display capture will help. Will bring you in. Oh, there you are. Look at that. I just have to shrink you. So, we're trying to figure out here if anything good is actually going to happen today, right? And you and I talked last week. We had a great conversation about this. And what we were wondering is, is there really going to be anything that is like a bombshell, right, that comes out? And I wish I could figure out how to just overlay me over you. Sorry, I shouldn't be talking about all this tech stuff. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I appreciate you saying that. It makes me feel better. That just did that. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Boom. Got it. Now, I have no idea if people can hear you, unfortunately. Um, you know what, Jim? Hang tight for a second because I am going to figure out how to get your audio in here. So let's see. So we got Jim Perry waiting in the wings for us right now. I am going to add in an audio input capture thing because we're going to talk. We're going to, there's a lot to discuss. There's, I mean, how much? What the? HD. Man, I really don't have any idea what the hell I'm doing over here. Because the report was supposed to come out a couple hours ago. And so Alex Mistretta is here. We got Jim Perry on the line. He's probably just going to have to write down everything he wants to say, a la John Cusack. Or no, in the movie, what was it, Love Actually? The movie Love Actually. Oh, shit. I just don't have any idea how that audio is supposed to come through other than maybe Soundflower. Let's see if that works. Jim, say something. Let me see if I can hear you at least. Yeah, I hear you. I just don't have any idea if anybody else does. But let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. See, the problem here, Jim, is that like all this shit got dropped on me last night at like 9:30 by you. And it's your fault that the UFO report is coming out like 5 days early than I thought it was. Not giving me time to figure out how to use any of this stuff. You're going to defend yourself right now for the people who can't hear, and I'm going to let them know that everything you say is a lie as you try to defend yourself. But let's see, I don't have any idea really how the fuck to do this. So unfortunately, we might have to say adieu until maybe someone can help us. Let me call you back, Jim. We'll do this again. I don't want you to just keep hanging out here. This is awkward for you. So I'm gonna hit you up and see if we can't make this work. Okay, thanks, Jim.
See you, Jim.
So that was Jim Perry, everybody. The good news is Zoom works, and it's it's all working. It's just not, the audio just isn't coming through from the Bigelow video. You should definitely watch the Bigelow video if you get a chance. Very fascinating video, and highly recommended. I love when millionaires are out there just like saying, I'm spending all my money on this. Yeah. Because I want to know the truth. I'm not just going to sit back and wait for somebody to tell me the truth and the answers about what's going on. I'm going to, actually figure it out myself.
We need more of that from millionaires and billionaires, or I know there's some out there because I know I've talked to a couple throughout my life that were interested in doing something like that, but
yeah, and I wish there were a lot more of them.
Yeah, we need it's.
And there's, I guess, at the end of the day, there's no real way to force somebody to be into something that you're into, right? But it's like, let's see here. I don't know if this.
No, I wish there was, because you could force somebody to be into stuff you're into, because
like the people who got money, like
yeah,
it's like, oh, you've all got like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's time for y'all to be into all this stuff that we're into.
So if you're out there, I've got ideas. I have a lot of ideas.
Yeah, it's like man, you know, I feel like we're close, right? Oh, you can't hear me anymore?
No, I can't, but there's that delay where so I'm hearing you and then you again.
Oh yeah, I'm checking the
Oh, it's that
audio.
way. I'll just take these off.
Yeah, no, I'm just making sure. I'm messing with the audio levels over here, so I brought up the Twitch window just to make sure it's
okay, cool, yeah.
But if there was a way to like make someone, not make them, I mean just convince them that they should be spending their excess wealth. Like, I mean, Jeff Bezos has a space company, and he's trying to take himself to space. Meanwhile, there's the homeless problem in this country is exploded, and it's one of those things where just because someone gets super rich, is it their responsibility to take care of the people who have nothing?
Kind of.
Which is a bigger issue, I guess.
I think it is, but look, the money for I just saw last week on Deadline, which is a trade publication here in California, but they usually reports on movies and shows and stuff. And I saw that J.G. Abrams, which is a big time producer, was going to do UFO show. And
on Showtime, right? Or it's like a documentary on.
I think, or HBO, I think it might be HBO Max. So I'm not sure. I know he's got a contract with HBO Max. Like they paid him like $500 million. What was his contract cost? And speaking of which, so $500 million right there, right? Whatever the budget for that show is, which is probably going to be J.J. Abrams, probably could be very well in the millions. Think about if we just spent that money for a multidisciplinary UFO research approach, that goes global. We could be doing that for $5-10 million, which is, think about how major blockbuster cost. You look at the Avengers, $250 million. We could be doing something worthwhile, at least start to get it going for $5-10 million. We start exploring all aspects of the UFO phenomena.
People will ask you this question though. They'll say, "Well, how do I get my money back?"
Well,
Avengers is gonna make me money. How do I make money being interested in UFOs? And the short answer is you don't.
Well, I mean, let's say you do multidisciplinary approach, right? And you're doing so you're throwing in genetics, like expeditions to certain places where there's UFO activity year round all the time throughout history, right? Whatever. And you're filming this live at the same time. You can have, if you find hard evidence, and we can't have it both ways. We can't think that the UFO phenomenon is here and not think we can get evidence ourselves, right? You have to get to a point where you got to take the plunge and have have the balls to go out and get your own evidence, right? If we do that, whether through a documentary or a live stream, whatever, however you want to give it to people, that's where the money comes in. So you do get your money back on some level, But, and what's $5-10 million for some people, or studios, or Bezos, or whoever? It's absolutely nothing. We could be doing so much good, but someone have to see the value in it, right? And they also have to be able to decipher who can do it and who can't. I mean, 90% of the UFO field is not going to be capable, if we're going to be really honest about it, to conduct a real bona fide multidisciplinary UFO study, right? And you have to bring in people from the outside, to bring in, a geneticist, a historian, whatever, right? Whatever you need. And so we have to admit that we don't have all the answers. And as a UFO researcher, even though we could be leading this, we're going to need help from academia, from scientists, people that a lot of the UFO community have been calling fake news the last few years. So that's another problem we have to overcome. But I'm telling you, if you're a millionaire, you're out there, $5-10 million, I guarantee you we're going to find some answers, some evidence, and we could literally redefine ufology for the future. I know that sounds overly optimistic, but I fucking guarantee it.
Yeah, and there's, just from being on paranormal investigations, differences in opinion happen all the time.
Right.
And, some people are, and it depends what you're doing it for. Are you there for the experience? Are you there, to collect hard evidence? Are you looking for evidence in a way that can't be disputed? Are you taking meticulous notes and things like that, right? Are you filling out reports? There's a big difference between that and, trying to have an experience on a paranormal adventure, right, or a hunt, or whatever we want, investigation, whatever we want to call it. And when certain people are in charge of projects that you might be a part of, I know this from experience. I don't get to tell them how to do things, right? If I'm brought in just as a researcher, I can provide them all the materials, or or if I'm in charge of investigations, someone can provide me with the materials they've collected, and then I get to do with what I want with it, right? If it's my thing that I put together that I'm in charge of, right? So there's not a lot of uniformity when it comes to paranormal investigations, and ufology has a little more. There's not like one just blank paranormal report sheet, or like that you just check a box at the top, whether it's Bigfoot, UFO, ghost, other,
And there shouldn't be, because we're not there yet.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be, but oftentimes there's like zero reports whatsoever, and I'll tell you this: I learned this early on, going through EVP recordings. It's a nightmare. Just sitting there and listening to audio where nothing is happening for like hours, over and over and over again, trying to find the slightest thing. It's very tedious work. Being a ufologist, or a UAPologist as I call them now, with the UAP, would you want to be a ufologist or a UAPologist? I'll be a
ufologist.
Yeah. So it's, what are some of the things? Okay, while we're waiting for this report, we might as well dive into this. And I can't believe we've never talked about this on the podcast before. Me and Paranormal E, by the way, which is a podcast I've been doing for years. And I'm hoping, if anyone is listening to this, and I'm going to text my buddy Kyle, who's used OBS, which is what I'm using right now, and see if he can send me a quick cheat sheet on how to capture audio on OBS. But what are some of the, I guess, key things? Like, let's say you think you have an experience where you're seeing UFOs, you're seeing some kind of activity in your area. What are some, basics for people to be doing as far as when we talk about like the research or the report, note taking, or making a report of such an event? Is it just strictly write down everything you saw? Is that it? Give me some tips for people.
Well, that's step one. Write down everything that you saw. Draw if you can draw. Like, I can't draw to save my life, so it would be useless, but draw what you saw, but pay very close attention at what time you saw it, exactly where, what else was around, even your mood. Every little detail matters. You have to be as detailed as possible. So when, why, where, how you felt, exactly what you saw, at what time you saw, how long it lasted. But also importantly, what was there before you saw it? If you're looking at direction, for example, or what was there after you saw it? How did it disappear? And then, it's just literally just as many detail as possible. And it's up to the investigator to follow up on that. And, there's certain sets of protocols that you take part in.
It makes sense. It's like kind of like the basic, it's like journalism 101 in a certain degree, like the who, why, where, what, when, and how. Right. And I love that idea too, as far as, what was, like, we've had a full moon.
Yeah.
And it is, no mistake to me that like the energy is a little more intense on a full moon. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. I know in certain locations I've been to, you get more activity. If we're talking about outside stuff on new moons.
Yeah.
First of all, it's darker, so creatures, things, etc., have more cloak of night.
Well, wildlife does it, right?
Yeah.
So there's no reason for unusual things to not take advantage of, cover of darkness. It's just
exactly. So where's the moon? And by that I mean, what phase of the moon are we in? What's the astrological calendar look like? I know some people are going to be like, are we talking about astrology now? And I'm talking about astrology now. But because we're just now entering Cancer season, which I love because I'm a Cancer. That's my sun sign. But So what are some of the things going on around us that might not have been paid attention to previously? If especially if we're just kind of outside hanging out, having a lemonade or something. What are the conditions? I think that's probably a good way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
What are the conditions that led to this, or that were occurring while this happened? I think that's fair for people to think of it in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because again, one thing I've learned is you cannot separate the observer from the event you're observing. There's always some kind of connection, some kind of link, and you have to remember, like, descriptions are tainted by your own personal belief system a lot of times. The verbiage that you'll use, the description that you'll use, the things that you'll see will be tainted by what you believe you're seeing, what your past experiences have been, what you can compare it to, and that's why it's so important, like, for if you've had a sighting, to get all that information. So you can be, I know profiling tends to sometimes, be a negative thing, but it's not in this case. You want to profile the people that is observing the event, and for that you need a lot of personal information as well, because, like I said, the type of words you'll use, the descriptions you'll give is a very personal thing. Some people describe things different ways based on their culture or their background or, their whatever belief system they have. So, you have to be able to differentiate between those, especially when you're reading a report.
It's so funny to think about and other people have written about this, and it's not a new idea. I think to people in ufology, the way that these phenomena manifest themselves over time, and specifically through the cultural lens of who's seeing them and when they are seeing or experiencing the event, and how it changes, and have they become more modern as society has essentially become more modern. It's really fascinating to think about. And so we went from flying saucers from 100 years ago. I mean, because it's not like Roswell was the first time anyone ever thought about seeing a flying saucer. Right?
No, we have them with K-balls.
Yeah, so we went from like flying saucers to, oh wait, this is the same shit. Sorry, I'm trying to download this software that will allow us to hear as while we're, basic stuff you do before you live stream. So what you do is, like, you experience something and it comes in through your lens, right? And we had flying saucers, let's say 70 to 100 years ago. And now we've got all these breakthroughs in quantum physics. And now you hear a lot more people discussing the idea of multidimensionality and dimensional portals. And I don't think it's a coincidence, right, that there is the advancement in science in that way.
Right.
And then also the advancement in the way we're thinking about where these things are coming from. And you know me, I've been talking to you about this for a while.
Yes.
Where I think that there are a lot of Sasquatch, Oma, whatever we want to call them, Bigfoot, and other entities on this planet interacting with humans in a very real way, and aliens, etc. But I think that maybe it's fewer than we think because of the interdimensional portals being almost like shortcuts here. Almost think of it like Super Mario Brothers. Going down tubes at different levels, like they're popping through these doors instantaneously, even simultaneously, maybe the way we experience time, and interacting with multiple people almost at the same time, potentially. And so, like, I may have seen the same, this is hypothetical because I've never seen a Bigfoot, I may have seen the same Bigfoot that someone in Siberia has seen, or someone in South America has seen, potentially, right? And I think that's probably a direct result of the breakthroughs in science and other things also affecting the way I think about things and the way I view things. I know you're more of a flesh and blood guy when it comes to the phenomena.
Well, when it comes to Bigfoot, yeah.
When it comes to Bigfoot, which honestly, I don't think we can be really talking about this. I mean, the FBI released their Bigfoot files. What was that, 3 years ago? Do you remember that?
Yeah, but that was based on, part of it was based on like a hair sample from 1970s it was?
Yeah.
When they first took interest in it. It was Peter, my God, I know that, I met the guy too. I was at his house talking about Bigfoot and Yeti. Peter, anyway, can't think of his last name right now. But yeah, it wasn't really, people made a big deal of that, but it was just the FBI was basically just, yeah, okay, we're going to check that out real quick. And that was it. It wasn't really, from that report, they weren't really interested in Bigfoot, you know? Not to mention the hair sample wasn't from the Bigfoot anyway. It turned out to be a goat or something, I don't remember, or whatever it was, but.
That's funny that, like, so all that stuff, like, you were at that guy's house.
Yeah, well, I was training this guy to climb a mountain. And he ended up being friends with Peter, you know? And he's like, and he started talking about it for some reason, and I'm like, I go, oh yeah, man, I'd love to meet him and talk about the Yeti, because he was, you know, he's a Yeti expert. He ran a lot of expeditions on it for Tom Slick back in the 60s and 70s, you know? So, yeah, he invited me, and the guy was inviting me to his house. I come and have tea, a very English gentleman, you know, and then we talked, you know, Yeti and Bigfoot for a while. But so he's the one that originally got the hair sample. He was also the gentleman that got the finger bone from the pal that was smuggled out by Jimmy Stewart and his wife back in the late 50s or 60s. So
wow, what a small world. I mean, that's like, I guess my question is like, what is that guy doing now? I wonder. Is he?
He's very old now. He's gonna be approaching 90. I know he had some tax evasion issues from what I heard, apparently. So
I don't mean to laugh because the IRS can go to hell.
You know, but
I'm not trying to be that guy. Like the IRS can go to hell, but I mean, really, you know, well, how do you get roads and all that kind of stuff? The IRS can go to hell. But that's so. I don't mean to laugh that he had tax evasion. It was just strange.
Yeah.
The guy who's, you know, who's getting the finger bone and purportedly has the hair that's being examined. This is Yeti hair. Like, is also having problems with the IRS. It goes back to that thing that's like, you know, how do you be Men in Black and a soccer mom at the same time?
Yeah.
How can you be part of both?
But see, everybody's got their real life, you know, like.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know everybody knows me. Well, a lot of people obviously. Athletes, if people know me from that world, they don't know I do this stuff on the side, you know. So, because honestly, I was afraid to talk about it. So, I mean, on the Saturday, I could be playing a pro tournament, you know, on beach volleyball, and then the next day I'd be out on the Bigfoot thing, you know. And it's like, how do you reconcile both those worlds? You know, everybody has another life, and I think, and that's part of the problem. I think sometimes we isolate things a little bit too much, you know. We don't take into account like the bigger picture. And not involve everybody that's involved in this field, have another perspective, another life, and you know, kind of knowing where they come from, kind of goes a long way into seeing how they're going to proceed, how they're going to research, or if you've had a sighting, like we were just talking about, how you're going to report what you've seen, how you're going to process this, and your interpretation of events, you know, because your interpretation of events is just as important as what actually happened, right? Because
oh shit! Sorry about that, everybody.
Because 90% of the times we deal with the perceived notion of what happened, right? Because we don't have firsthand video or film or whatever of somebody's experience. So what we're taking down, we're working with is people's perceptions of things. And in your entire life, everything that you do kind of comes into play, you know, when it comes to that, I think. So, yeah. So, you know.
Yeah, it really, I mean, when you come forward with any of this kind of stuff, you really are put under a microscope.
Oh yeah.
Too, and people want to find any reason to discount you, and I mean I think that's unfortunate, obviously.
Yeah.
But I suppose when it comes to trying to, I don't know, change the way people are thinking about reality itself and like the way the world operates itself, a little scrutiny is part of the recipe.
Yeah.
So I guess it shouldn't be any surprise.
Yeah, it's a weird world. Funny story. One time I was I was in a beach volleyball tournament, and I think I was in the finals or semifinals, and there's an announcer, you know, and he started calling me Ghostbuster. Alex Mistretta hits the volleyball when he was, you know, narrating, you know, our game, you know. He's like, Ghostbuster, Alex Mistretta does this, and people had no idea what the hell he was talking about, you know, until So I had to come clean. I go, yeah, well, on the side, you know. I have a book out and all that stuff. I'm like, you know, I do this too, you know. So, but yeah, everybody's got another life.
It's. I wasn't going to bring this up, but so it turns out Derek Chauvin was sentenced for George Floyd's murder. This is not the UFO report, but this is the big news of the day.
It's weird.
For 30 years, he will be requested. The prosecutors requested Chauvin serve 30 years in prison. Let's see. I'm not sure what he actually got.
Isn't it kind of odd? I mean, I'm not going to conspiracies here, but it's kind of odd to have a UFO report come out on this day, though, with this.
Yeah,
at the same time. Could be.
And it's one of those things where, like, do you want it to get buried? You know, is that the idea? You know, like, I guess people think of it that way. There's always some kind of, you know, I don't have to be here for this. I can just, you can go to like Twitter nowadays and you can find out all the information you want without having to click the headline to actually get the information, kind of bullshit. But so let's see what he's sentenced to 22 and a half years. Dragon Man skull found in China may be a new human species.
Yeah, I shared that earlier. I shared my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a big deal, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, we can talk about that another time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any information breaking about our beloved UFO report that's coming out.
I keep checking on my phone, on Twitter and Facebook, whatever. See, no one seems to be sharing anything of any value.
They're trying to say goodbye. You know, Forbes is trying to get people to say goodbye to Bitcoin. Of course they are. Let's see what we got here. Nothing, right? Nothing yet coming in. Let's see if any reporters over here who have been reporting on it have any updates whatsoever. Like I said, we're waiting for information about it. We're waiting for the UFO report to get dropped. And it's going to be available for download, I'm pretty sure. Today, maybe, sometime, a governmental report on UFOs is set to be released. The UFO Trap is the name of this article.
Whose article?
The Atlantic.com.
Oh.
They're subtitled, "Whenever UFOs make the news, standards of skepticism start to slip." Interesting article. But, like, again, there's the built-in snark. You know, with mainstream news or with reporting in general when it comes to UFOs, specifically to the extraterrestrial side. There's a bias against it. That's what we're kind of like really up against here. You know, people, the news is glad to talk about UAPs.
Yeah.
They are not glad to talk about extraterrestrials.
Well, UAPs are safe now.
Yeah, right? Because they, and the reason I'm seeing, and I've been reading for the use of UAP over UFO is the whole, well, it's, you know, because it doesn't mean it's a flying object. It could be, you know, an anomaly of some kind, weather related or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it leaves you a way out, right? Where extraterrestrial, that's an absolute. Mm-hmm. That doesn't leave you any way out, you know, so it's safe.
Yeah, so I think, we're just kind of still like holding steady here, waiting for this. Maybe we should, I don't know if we should take a short break. I've received software and I've downloaded it from my buddy Kyle Ayers. Ironically, the software is called Black Hole.
Awesome.
That will make it possible for us to set up the audio and have Jim Perry call us in. So let's take a little break here, and we're going to. I'm going to try to set up this audio so we can get some Jim Perry in here. I might even try to have a quick snack. It's 1 o'clock already. I don't know what time we started. I guess we've been going an hour and a half now.
Yeah, something like
that. But we're, you know, I'm going to be hanging out here. Hopefully, Alex can hang out for a while longer as we wait for, you know, breaking news to come in about the UFO report. It'll probably happen right when we're eating lunch. And then we'll see what's what, and then I'm gonna try to get this rocking and rolling. So let's do that, and just kind of go to a. I wonder if I should just restart the stream or just. Yeah, we'll just do that. So we're going to stop streaming now, but we'll be back in a little bit.